All right. Good evening, folks. My goodness, good crowd. Luke and Jeff is here, and Paul is here, and Sean is here. Excellent. And Jeff, I am glad to hear that you are improving. I know it's crazy stuff. So. Glad you're making progress. So let's see. Lots of stuff tonight. I'm looking at chat. Lots of stuff to get through. So we're not gonna dally much. I'm gonna whip along. So good to see you, Danny. Welcome. And okay, let's do this thing. So far, everything is functioning. Now I know I've said that. That'll be the now everything will stop. But let's see what we got here. So let's see on the agenda for tonight. Some little updates to the modular rig. My second disc recorder came back from the shop and it seems to be working. Let's see what else. So we'll talk a little bit about the XY control project, and let's see, a new plugin I discovered. It had me at Morph. I have not bought it yet. I don't know if I'm going to, but had me at Morph, and you know how I am for morphs. So let us get to it. It was not in that particular thing was not in the jam, but let's go ahead and get into what is in the jam tonight. Started with, let's see, this guy. Let me drive to the right spot and do this, and we will do that. All right, so bass. A little modification to the bass from last week. Again in Ultra. And that snarl is doing some modification of waveforms and filter. On the mod wheel. Next up, another Ultra track. This one is pretty much oops, didn't want to be there. Pretty much unchanged from last week. Just the only difference is I've got a new sequence running for the drone there. Let's see. Op6 stream. Kitty is all healed. Good. Cancer-free. Excellent. All right, cool. We will get that set up and do the Op6 soon. So the thing you're hearing in the background, the drone, is from the patch that's up now. And this is one of my, oh geez, the bird's at it already. We're only 13 minutes in. So let's see, the patch is one of mine, as are most of the patches that you'll hear tonight. So that's that pad, and I'm going to go ahead and stop it and start the next. And that is in just a simple pad in Synthex V on out of Arturia, out of the V collection. And this is a fun synth. The Synthex V is a fun synth. It's one of those ones that lets you do some swapping between layers and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, that bird's not getting screen time. No, the birds aren't getting screen time. I think I told about this or talked about this once before, but there used to be a guy who had He had a synth channel. I can't remember what his name was. He seems to have kind of gone away, but he had a parrot, you know, just a small, actually a conure that he would bring on. And every once in a while, the bird would get out of control and have to go back in the cage, usually in the middle of the stream and in the middle of an important part. So anyway, that's what that was. Next is... this is back to Ultra. This is a patch that I've used before. It's my Ultra Motion playable pad. Let's go ahead and take this guy out. Tonight I used this as a lead. Let's see. Well, we get this out of it, I think, Paul. Ran out of notes. Wasn't far enough, too far up the keyboard. So anyway, it'll do those bells and fade off into forever on that on the delay. So let's see, another Ultra patch. I really like Ultra for quick stuff. So this one I've got the mod wheel doing a reverse filter thing and some effects stuff. Aftertouch is playing the filter too. Hey, welcome, David. Good to see you. All right, and let's see. Let me punch this up real quick. Make this happen. Doop, 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 over here. Give this a second. And so next up in the jam tonight, and something we'll be playing with in a bit, is, let's see, that guy. Have the modular in the rig tonight. That should wake your subwoofers up. Will, good to see you. Thanks for coming. So we got the, like I said, the modular, and we'll talk about that patch in a little bit because there's some cool stuff in it. Cool new stuff. Let's see. So let's go back to, what's the best way to show this? I'm going to move the camera. Actually, let's do it this way. I am going to move the camera, the overhead camera. I'm going to take that to there. And then I'm going to do this because I want that bigger. So the next thing up is that. That's not what I wanted. That's what I got though. All right, so let's just go to the camera because it's more important than what's going to be on the DAW. Let's see. So I want to come over here. So the patch that I do have to show both. Okay, that one. Okay, closest we're going to get. So the patch is SynthXV, which is Synthy V. But I'm controlling. So the Synthy V. This gets into the joystick project, or the pad project that we'll talk about. But the joystick is controlling a bunch of stuff here. And I've got that running for performance part anyway. From a touchpad on an old iPhone 6S. It is not ideal, but it does function. I think we'll talk about it. Anyway, cool stuff there. So let's go ahead and we'll make that one go. So that's the jam. So anyway, yeah, lots of stuff like flying along this week. So let's go ahead. Like I said, there's a lot to cover tonight. Not ideal, but not bad. Exactly, Will. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I have the modular, the virtualer, and the barpular. You got it. And I got not using it tonight, but I got the hardular too. The polyroot, the Take 5 are sitting over here. Not ideal, not Mattel. Oh my gosh. Whatever happened to Mattel? Anyway, that's not what we need to worry about tonight. I don't think they had any musical instruments. So let's see. Next thing up, let's go ahead and jump into modular. I got 2 new modules. And get the camera set up for that, more or less. Yeah, I got 2 new modules. I got a Wasp filter clone. I got the Behringer because, you know, what the heck. And then I got the Making Sound Machines Farbfolder wave folder module. And they are, the wave folder is what has been up so far. So it's this guy here. It's an interesting module. It is not as extreme as I had expected. I will say that. Not complaining. I do like the way it sounds. I like what it does. They've got a couple other. They've got a couple other modules that I might go with. It might be a little more interesting. Whoops, that was the wrong place to shoot. I wanted. That's fine. So let's see. Basically two controls. There's a fold control and something they call color. I've got fold on the mod wheel tonight, and color is being modulated by a function generator in the function junction. Oh, and let's dump the rest of the patch so you can just hear that. So the way the Farbfolder is run in this patch, I have, let's see here. I want to go to, oh, we're already there. You can see it. So I got the 110 is being the oscillator for this. I've got it going as a triangle. Audio comes out of that into the input on the Farbfolder. We come out of that and go back to the VCA in the 110 tonight. And then out from there, we go into mixer input on the 2600 to feed out to effects. And let's see, modulation, as I said, let's see, how is this set up? So pitch to the oscillator, volt per octave in. I've got gate coming out to passive mult that triggers the ADSR and the AR envelope in the function junction. ADSR comes out to another mult, and then that mult goes up to hit the envelope generator in the ARP, and then also comes over and hits the trigger. See where'd it go? Somewhere here. Doopy doop. Yeah, that modulates the that output from the ADSR modulates the amp in the 110 module. And let's see, the output from the AR, as I said earlier, goes into the it goes into the what they call color on the it's called color up on the knob and bias down here. So it goes to the bias input on the Farbfolder, and then I've got coming out of the key step, I've got mod coming into the modulation coming into the fold input. And you know, I forgot to do something. So let's set up for that. I was also, before I did this, well, we can get back to it. Never mind, doesn't matter. And then up in the, so that's the Farbfolder. And then from the ARP, there's not a whole lot going on. I've just got all the oscillators run into the filter. They're droning. They're set to play a D no matter what note I play on the keyboard. Let's douse that guy. So they play this kind of D drone thing no matter what else I'm doing. Okay. Like I can play any note. It's going to play a D. And then this guy gets, from below, gets mixed in. So anyway, that's the Farbfolder. I haven't played a lot yet with the Wasp, but I can tell you, it stings. I mean, it can get pretty wicked. One thing that I actually forgot to do. So let's catch that now. One thing I forgot to do. I had said that last time I said before I did this, I was going to show you to. There must be a joke that I missed. Oh, the rack is looking pretty. Yeah, it's there's only 2 HP left. So anyway, I said last time that I was going to talk about what the previous patch was before I made a change. So I went ahead, and obviously I've changed the patch, but I didn't tell you guys what the old patch was. So late last week, I did go ahead and do a little recording about the previous patch, explained the whole thing, and so I'm going to go ahead and run that for you now. So let's take a quick listen, and then I'll go over how this patch works. Okay, so what's going on? There's really actually two patches here. The drone primarily coming from the 2600, and the melodic lines are built down here. So let's start with taking a look at what's going on in the 2600. There's a lot of stuff going on here. The obviously a drone, and I've got a lot of cross modulation going on. So let's just kind of go through left to right, I guess, top to bottom, and take a look at what's happening. So VCO 1, 2, and 3 are all in audio mode. They're not being used as LFOs, but they are being used to cross modulate one another. Excuse me. The sawtooth output, at the most basic portion of this, the sawtooth output from oscillator 1 is being patched to the filter input mixer here. If you start to look at its filter modulation or frequency modulation controls, it's getting modulation from this patch, which is the triangle output of VCO2. It's not taking anything from envelope, but there's also a very little bit of LFO triangle wave input coming in here. VCO2 is getting its frequency control a little bit from the sample and hold. Again, nothing from envelope, but it's also being modulated by the square wave or pulse output of oscillator 1. And then the pulse width of the square wave from this oscillator is being modulated from an output of this mult, which is getting the LFO triangle wave in. So we've got triangle wave modulating, which is very slow LFO, modulating PWM here. The frequency of the oscillator is being modulated by the square wave of VCO1 and by the sample and hold. And they're tuned basically, all three oscillators are basically tuned to a D-ish. Oscillator 2 or oscillator 3 is being modulated by, it's in sync, so it's synchronized to this oscillator, and then it is getting modulation from the noise generator, a little bit from the LFO through the mult, and then a lot from the sine wave output of oscillator 2, a VCO2. So all three of the audio oscillators in the 2600 are cross-modulating each other through this kind of looping arrangement. Filter is getting audio inputs from the three oscillators. It's getting an audio input. It's getting the saw wave, as we said earlier, from VCO1. It's getting a square or pulse from VCO2, and it's getting a sawtooth from VCO3. Those are being mixed. There's noise being mixed in, and then it's obviously filtered. Filter is being controlled by, filter frequency is being modulated by a few things. This is coming through the envelope follower, which is basically giving me a smoothed output of the sample and hold. So the sample and hold circuit patches in here. This comes up to this input, and that's primarily what's modulating the filter. The filter is also getting some of that slow LFO through the mult, and then it's also being modulated by the sine wave of VCO2. So lots of complex modulation to give us this drone. Since we're just going for a drone, the envelopes really aren't doing much of anything. In fact, they're doing nothing at all. So everything then passes through this to the mixer, to the VCA, which is taking the output of the control, or of the voltage controlled filter directly. It's also taking some input from the ring modulator, which we'll get to. There's no control here, it's just wide open, and that passes on through to the mixer section, to the reverb, and out. Down here, LFO is being used for a couple of things. It's a very slow LFO. As I said earlier, the triangle is coming out to the mult to do all the stuff up here. It is also the same LFO, the square of this LFO is being sent down to clock things within the Eurorec section of the synth, and we'll get to that. Let's see, you couldn't see my hands there because they were out of the bottom of the shot. Anyway, not much else going on here in voltage regulation land. The sample and hold is doing its thing, and that's pretty much everything that's going on, with one exception, in the 2600. 2600 is asking as the master output of the entire patch to go over to effects. So moving down to the Eurorec section, which is feeding into the master filter through this input of the filter mixer, coming down to here. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on down there. The 110 module is being used as the sound source and the filter in this particular lower patch. It's the frequency for the VCO down here is being modulated by keyboard input. I get CV off the key step. Comes in here. We've also got a little tiny bit of modulation coming out of the LFO of the function junction, and that's running at a fairly slow rate. You can see the rate of the LFO down here on this LED there. So that's running, and I'm taking the triangle output of that and running that into frequency here. Filter, cutoff, and resonance. The filter is being modulated by the function output of the function junction. And so when I play that, you'll hear that the filter is moving pretty drastically. So you can hear that filter sweep actually opening and closing the filter. It does, the resonance is fairly high, but it's not enough to start shrieking. So the output of this module, which is through the final VCA, comes out and goes to the audio input of the low-pass gate. The low-pass gate's level is being modulated by the ADSR output of the function junction, but it's kind of at a free run mode. It's in a looping mode. So that's also contributing to these volume swells in the Eurorec section of the patch. Let's see, so we've got one mult in use down here. And so basically that's taking the square wave output of the LFO from the 2600, that comes down along here, goes into the mult, and so the mult then feeds the trigger inputs of the function junction for both the ADSR and also the function generator. And then the final output of that mult is also running the pulse width modulation input for the square wave output of the 110 module, and we're running the oscillator as a square wave oscillator. So as I said, that comes down here, comes through the low pass gate. The output of the low pass gate is then going back up, as I said, into the first mixer input of the filter. The whole thing comes out here, runs through the Plethora X3, and which is providing delay and reverb. So it's kind of a fun patch. I'm going to be a little bit sad to see it go. We're going to go ahead and pull that out shortly, and then I'll be putting in the new Farbfolder and the Wasp, which you will be seeing, which you've seen already here on tonight's show. So that is it from the modular rack. We'll go play a little bit more with it, and then that'll be that. Okay, got to turn the mic back on. So that was, that's interesting. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that was the old patch. While that was playing, I went ahead and patched the Wasp in to the drone side of the new patch. And I have no idea what it's going to sound like, but let's go ahead and spend a couple minutes, take a listen. So let's see what we got here. Let's see, we'll take that out. If I did this right, we should hear the 2600 through the Wasp if I wired this right. And apparently I didn't. Oh, here we go. Let's get her opened up, the filter up. Oh, here we go. The labeling on the, some of the labeling on the Behringer version of the Wasp could be better. They've course, it's all at the wrong angle. From where I'm sitting, I have to duck my head down to look at the labels. But we've got input level, filter frequency, the CV and the CV input for that. We've got a second CV in to the frequency as well, and then we've got the resonance, which is not modulatable, despite the fact that you can barely see it. But they've got a panel graphic that shows an input coming from the bandpass output. You know, I can't really see that on the screen now. So that's a little confusing there. But if you know how the Wasp filter works, the layout is exactly the same as the Doper. And this thing, I'm gonna watch your ears if you're in headphones. As I said, she stings. You know. And so this output that we're coming out now is adjustable. It can either be low pass or a high pass or somewhere in between. Let's kill that resonance. So we come over to the high pass mode. So fun filter. I haven't played with the bandpass out yet much, and I don't have that patched in at the moment. So anyway, fun filter. All kinds of fun stuff here. All right. So anyway, that's the new modules. Yeah, throaty. It's a nice. It's a nice filter. You know, so yeah, pass all that through. Yeah, so I could use that's right. I can use the wave folder to monkey with LFOs. Although, you know, with the abacus, which is basically a maths, it can modulate itself and fold its own waves in some ways. It's pretty flexible there. But anyway. So many things to plug and patch and whatnot. And about the only thing I think I'm missing in the lower part of the rack is I want to put a sample and hold noise generator down there, which would give me 2 sample and holds, 2 noises. And also give me the capability really of actually separating the 2 if I want. So if I wanted to go out and do modular, you know, and not take the whole rack, I could just take the 3RU part at the bottom and take that out to play with. Who knows, Paul? I might bring it to your place one day. So anyway, that is the modular update. I'm pretty happy, and you know, there's a huge amount of capability in that setup, just the way it is. It's enough. I'm almost to the point where I'm going to be happy for a while. I say that, you know, but it's synth stuff, and you know, we always want more. So, and so that's the Eurorack business for the night. Let's see. Might sample and hold chaos is always a good combo. Yeah, it is. It really is. It really is, Jeff. And let's see. Might need to borrow my Metamorpheus. Yeah, we can see. What the heck? Wire stuff together. That's what it's all about. So let's see. Okay. So up next, for those catching up, I think last week maybe I started talking about wanting, or continuing in the conversation that I want an XY pad control, or some sort of XY control. And I showed it a little bit already, but let's see that shot. Well, Paul, the meta module, of course it's flexible. It's, you know, it's VCV rack in a, you know, how many HP box? You know, of course it's flexible. But is it limber? That's the question. So anyway, let's jump back to this, which is going to be that. And I wish I had this flipped so I could put the camera up bigger and the DAW smaller. But so anyway, I've been wanting to. You hate it. Oh, that's funny, Jeff. You know, I don't think I've heard any sound come out of Paul's yet. 26 HP is a lot of space. But, you know, it's a whole little Euro rack within a Euro rack. So anyway, I had wanted, ouch. Ooh, that was my knee. I had wanted something so I can do XY control. And so Luke and I have been talking about it offline, and you know, we talked about a little thing. I did some fooling around and found this app for iPhone that lets me control XY as a comes in USB into the Mac, and I can pick it up and drag it around. Setting it up was a bit of a challenge, and it's still not the smoothest thing in the planet. But I had to end up going into, in order to get this to work, I had to go into, come on. I had to go into the Audio MIDI Setup app and build this. Oh, you're not seeing it. Daggone it. Had to go into the Audio MIDI Setup app and build this virtual device that is the iPhone. So the iPhone now becomes a virtual MIDI device here, and so that comes into live, and I pick it up here on the XY pad channel. So you have to have two channels in order, or two tracks in Ableton Live to get this to fly currently, because each track or channel in Ableton can only handle one MIDI input, and any device within that track can only handle one MIDI input. That was the thing that kind of slowed it down. What I wanted was a device that would sit in the input or in the channel strip and grab two MIDI inputs, and you can't do that. So yeah, so it is a little irritating. But so the workaround is you set up a second track. And so this second track basically takes its input from the iPhone, and all it does is turn around and spit it right back out into the track to be controlled. And if you do that, if you tell that to send over here and tell this track to get its input from the keyboard controller or wherever else you want it to get its input from, it'll merge the two inputs. And so basically that comes in, and it does an interesting thing. When I was doing the testing and setup, I could see all of the MIDI data coming through. Once I mapped the MIDI data, once I mapped everything, I can't see the CC inputs showing up in the MIDI monitor. Hey, Steve. But you can see the result as I move my finger, which you can't see at the moment. You got to do that. You can barely see, but as I move my finger on the pad, these two knobs down here spin. These two knobs, pad X and pad Y, are mapped to the joystick control X and Y. And so now I have control over the joystick. And the joystick I have running filter and something else. Interestingly, to patch the joystick, you would think you would do it here in the pin board, or in the matrix. It's better to patch that up here through this, and I can send it to 4 places as opposed easily. In this particular synth anyway. So that's the. So it sort of works, It's not ideal, but it sort of works. And this app, which is linked below, it's linked in the show notes. It'll work with any on an iPhone to feed anything that you can get it to talk to MIDI over USB. This is an iPhone 6S that I'm using, so it's a Lightning to USB cable. It also works on my 16, which uses USB-C. The problem with all this, and I'll go ahead and break this because it's easy. It's easy to put back together, but no two plugins seem to want to work the same way. And that's what's annoying. So the app is called, this is for iPhone and iPad. And it is called, did I put it in the, it's in the show notes below. It's a ridiculous name. So if you look down below in the link section of the show description, there's the link to the thing. There's 2 versions. There's a paid version. There's a free version. I'm sorry. It's called, I do have it written down. It's called ddtctmcc. And I'm running the -FF version. When you go to the guy's website, he lists them as oddly named apps. Or strangely named apps or something like that. And they're all just collections of letters and numbers as the app names. So I had originally written, and if you look on there, I've got a review on the site where I say it's broken. If you have a phone with a small screen like this one, and I put it in the old fogey mode so that the screen is blown up a little bit, blocks off some of the configuration settings ability, and I figured out today that or tonight just before going on that if I turn that mode off, I can see all the configuration settings. That was something I was complaining about on the Discord the other day, or yesterday, I guess. But anyway, so it works. It works okay. It functions, it has a lot of the same functionality as the XY pad on the Roland Gaia 2, in that, it's X and Y. And the other thing, you can record your motion and play it back. So let's see if we go down to, it's hard, I know it's hard to see, but I'm going to go ahead and show it anyway. So if I go into a particular mode called once, and I just start drawing on the screen, which again, let's do this. So I'm just drawing on the screen. And so what I'm doing is I'm drawing the motion that the pad would be, and I'll just loop around. And the interesting thing about it, it also gets speed. So it's not just direction, it actually records your speed. So now I've got that in there. If I go ahead and put this into, let's say loop mode will work. I put it into loop mode. You can sort of see that the cursor is moving around. If you look real close, you can see the cursor is moving around. And you can hear the result. Actually, let's get this other guy out of the way. But you can see, if you look close, you can, if you're looking on a big screen, that the speed was recorded as well. So this is the, like I said, this is the free version. I don't know that, he wants like $55 or something like that for the full version, and I don't know that it adds anything that I really need. This does plenty. So anyway, this works. It is, as I have said, not necessarily ideal, but I think in the long run, I'm going to want, interesting. In the long run, I want to, I do want to have a proper pad. And so I'm thinking, even though it comes with some confusion as far as getting numbers in, I think I'm going to end up with one of those Korg NTS3s, the Chaos pad, because it not only would it give me the pad, but some fun effects to play with, so anyway, we'll see. Like I said, this is working for the moment while I get the bumps worked out, and I'd like to be able to, the tricky part, like I said, let's I can add another track to this. Let's do this, insert a MIDI track. I'll show you what I have to go through, or some of what I have to go through when I want to add another, or when I want to hook this up, so to speak. So if I were to do this, let's see, well, one thing it won't do, I can tell you that right off. The way it's set up now, and this is something I want to try and figure out. So a lot of apps will run, there's a whole bunch of different ways that they can deal with an XY pad. One is just straight XY data, which is what Synthi does, just straight XY. However, if I were to try and do the Prophet VS from Analog or from Arturia, it works differently, which makes me grumpy. And then if I were to try and use this with Omnisphere, instead of taking XY data, Omnisphere does angle and distance from center, which I have no idea how to translate XY to that number. It's math. I'm not a math guy. And then if I want to use it with, say, ModWave or Multipoly, they use X, Y, touched, and then they have release CVs as well. So release direction, release velocity, and it's like, this doesn't send that, and the paid version of this doesn't send that either. So it's, I'm not sure how I'm going to approach those two. So there's a lot of of stuff to work out, and start banging around a Max for Live, I guess, and you know, bothering Luke for answers about Max for Live. And it might be something too that I can capture as an effect in Reactor, but I haven't done anything with that in a long time either. So anyway, so if I want to set one of these up, you know, let's grab Vital, because Vital's pretty simple. And so what I need to do is, the first thing I need to do to make this work is I needed an instrument rack. So we'll drag that down there, and then I come and grab Vital and stick that in the rack, and that's way too big, so let's make it small. So once I've got that in the rack, I need to design a patch, and I'm just going to open up, or we'll do something quick and simple, I guess. Don't want to spend too much time on the sound design of this because that's not that important. So let's just grab, oh, nah, that's all I want. Nah, I was fooling with one earlier that was pretty cool. That should work. That'll be good enough. Oh, good. So then you'll be able to you can tell me the math, Paul. So the nice thing with Danny, the nice thing with the mod wave and the multi-poly is you don't have to use the angular coordinates. You can just use XY. Now it's not, because I think the angular stuff comes into play with release into the kickoff and release of the dot with the chaos physics. That's where that angle and stuff angle and velocity come into. So okay, so that's that. Make sure I got this set where I want it to go. So this audio is going to go out to sends, go to my synth bus. And we'll call this guy, we'll rename this so it's easy to find. Call it Vital Rack. All of this becomes important when you're setting all this up. That's loud. We'll turn that. We'll get a filter on that here real quick. All right. So let's not to. Like I said, I don't want to do a real fancy patch here, but I do want it to sound cool. So let's see, we'll go ahead real quick and throw an LFO on this as well. Do that. We will make it free run. We will slow it down, all the things that you do. Give it some delay before it starts. Give it some unison, because we can, oops, tame that. All right, and we're going to put the same LFO a little bit on filter, not drive, on filter cutoff, just to add some motion. one more thing for fun. We'll go ahead and do some harmonic stretch. And we'll do another LFO for that. No, let's do a random for that. And turn it way down. Do that. And let's make it do it in stereo. Okay, so now let's say that we want our XY pad to be able to control some stuff here. So the next thing I got to do is I got to come out here and I got to make the things I want to control available. So I'm just going to do this simply. I could back this stuff into a macro and make the macros come out, but I'm going to do this a simple way. I'm just going to grab cutoff and you know what? Let's add. I'm sorry. Let's add another oscillator to this, just to make some interesting stuff. Let's grab that. Why not? And we're going to pitch this one up an octave. Give it some more volume. Or give this one less volume. And I'm actually going to run this one to the other filter. Make it like that. Okay, this will work. So now what I want to do is I'm going to come and configure here. I'm going to make the X be the filter for the... All right, Luke, thanks for coming. We'll talk more about this. So I'm going to make the X axis the filter for the first oscillator, and we'll make Y the second oscillator filter cutoff. So so just to keep things, make things interesting, I'm going to drag that up there. Yeah, okay. So configure, click on that, click on that. That makes the two of those available. The next thing I got to do is I have to now make that touchable by the XY pad. So in order to do that, I need to come out here, and I can always forget how to do this. Let's see, I need to add a couple of knobs, which is there. Open up the macros, so we'll call the macro this one. No, I can just do this. So now I'm going to take the XY pad and say, instead of sending it to XY rack, which is the other thing that we were already doing. Hey, Kurt, good to see you. I'm going to send the MIDI for this now to, where'd it go? Oh, here we go. Send the MIDI here now. Instead of to XY rack, we're going to send that to Vital rack. So we've got that done. And now I have to map these guys here to the controls from the pad, which ends up coming up here to MIDI mapping. And this gets a little funky because of the way that this thing sends. There's no way in Ableton Live, this annoys me, there's no way in Ableton Live for me to open up the map and say, I want this CC to show up here. The only way you can do it is auto mapping. So I have to turn this on. And like I said, we're going to make this guy X, this guy Y, and this guy touched. So if I go in here and enable this, put my finger on the pad and start sliding, that little number changes to what I want it to be, which is if I move left and right, that's my X. Click here, move up and down, that gets me my Y. And go here and let go, or touch it, come on. Oh, it's not going to work now? It's not giving me touch for some reason. All right, don't need it anyway. So, in this case, I don't really need it. So now I've got these guys. Let me unmap this one, just so it doesn't confuse anything. Delete. There we go. Okay, so now as I move X, and now as I move X, the first macro spins, up and down, the second macro spins. So the next step is now I have to map this to that. So in order to do that, we're back into the map. I think this is right. Oops, wrong one, map. And now I have to say that I want filter cutoff. So I go here. That's backwards. Let's configure. Map here. See, there's a whole bunch of all these steps. Configure can be off. So map here, click this to map. Click this and map. So now, turn that off. Now as I move, you can see that the two filters are changing. I'm not going to save this particular one, but yeah, it's like every step save in case you screw it up. Because I spent most of Saturday figuring this out, and a big chunk of yesterday too, before I came over to your house, Paul. But it gives me that XY that I wanted, And of course, that needs effects. That needs to have the delay turned on and the reverb turned on. And I would ordinarily might not do it this way, but no. Give me that. Make it that, some of that, some of that, more of that, more of that. There we go. Now, that's all well and good. I got control of it for live playback. Where it gets even stranger is recording and playing back. I still don't have that quite straight. But I think it's possible that once I get it straight here with this XY pad, I may solve the mystery of how to get it to work correctly with the Polybrute. And if it does, I will be thrilled. So anyway, that's where that stands. Moving along with fun. And I could play that same loop that I did. Now, in theory, I don't know if this will work or not. Let's try it. I haven't tried this yet. It's the first time I've set up actually two devices. So I've got that going. We know that works. So if I go back to my XY pad and I switch that MIDI to the first rack that we did, let's try that. Do I have? At least I can switch back and forth without having to reconfigure it. So I could probably do a series. Oh, you couldn't see it, but I was able to switch back and forth, switch it over. So just by switching the MIDI 2 control in the XY pad track, I can control which of those two instruments I'm controlling with the pad, and then I just have to make the track active in order for it to play. So right now, back to XY, the original one. And then I can switch over to the new one we just did. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's getting there. It's a thing. I think the thing that I'd like to try and do first, anyway, is get something set up so that XY pad is always looking at the active track, the track that's actively armed for record. That way it will automatically follow. And I don't see any need to be able to do two at once. So that'll be I've only got two hands. So that's the next step, I guess. And then some more refining of being able to change data types. And the nice thing is that the utility to be able to switch between tracks is independent of whatever I'm using for a pad. So anyway, or at least I think it is. So one more thing real quick. I came across a thing the other day. You know me and morphing. It's like my thing. So what do I have this mapped to? Mod wheel. Okay, so I'm going to. Why do I feel like I'm missing something here? I'm not. So okay, there's a thing I came across called Snappy Snap. We'll put that back up on the screen. And let me slide it over a little bit. So Snappy Snap is a thing that claims to be able to morph any presets in a synth. And I thought, well, that's a pretty tall order. So there's two versions. Another deal. There's a free version, which is what this is, and there's a paid version. The free version is very basic. It basically morphs between two presets. The paid version has some other controls and morphs between up to 12 presets. So I figured I'd go ahead and try it. And so I set up my friend Vital, two presets between, to morph between, and I had it set up so Mod Wheel would do it. Why isn't it doing it? I ran into this earlier. Oh, I know why. I stole Mod Wheel for this, didn't I? That shouldn't make any difference. I don't know. Anyway, it's a little buggy, I think, because this is not the first time this has eluded me to be able to get this to fly. So I want to be able to control oh, you know what? I should at least be able to have XY pad send one. Nah, I'm not going to mess with it because I don't have a rack set up. So anyway, what this thing does, I've got this Vital patch. It's got, I did a Vital preset. It sounds like this. Let's stop that guy again. And there's a second preset tied to it. And darn if I can't morph between them, you know? At one point, I had this on the mod wheel. I think I broke it when I saved when I set up to use the mod wheel on the modular. Oh, I see part of the problem. I want that to be coming from there. Maybe that'll fix it. Nope. All right. Well, anyway, you get the point. What I found, because I started fooling around with it, because, you know, that's what I do. This works okay. It's not, I don't think it's fully hatched yet. But it, so I've been testing, like I say, with the this light 2-input version, or 2-patch version. And at least on a Mac, installation was tricky because I had to bypass all the security controls. It acts as yet another plug-in host inside the DAW. So I've got to run Snappy Snap, and then I load the VST or audio unit, whatever the plugin is, within the Snappy Snap. And the way you have to load a preset or load a instrument with this is basically it takes you into the Finder, and you've got to dig around and find the, oh, you're not seeing it. It takes you into the Finder, and you got to dig around and find the plugin, as opposed to just having a regular search like anything else would. So that's a little hinky. It's okay. What I found is that it's okay in simple situations where you're only changing a handful of parameters. He claims that it'll change any number of things. But here's what I found out. If you do anything like change wavetables, or change, if you're using an algorithmic synth, if you change the algorithms, it gets just completely out of control. So there's no smooth morph between the sounds. Like, so what I found is that it works very much, in fact, almost exactly like the morph control on the Polybrute. And so it's subject to all of the same limitations as the morph control on the Polybrute. If you change a routing, a modulation routing, that throws it off. If you change anything that's not a knob in the actual first preset, it's something that's not already in the first preset, it won't work well going into the second preset. So anyway, I feel like I'm missing something. Guess not. So anyway, that is the bottom line. Like I said, very similar to the morph functionality of Polybrute. I don't think it's quite ready for prime time, but this is, I think Inkie put this out through Electric Smudge, and I think I put a link below. I may not have. But anyway, so that's another, it's an interesting thing, you know, and I don't see any need, personally see any need to go to more than 2, personally. I guess a dozen could be interesting, but I'm not that interested. So anyway, that's it for stuff tonight. And I think, yeah, an interesting side quest, exactly. Because, you know, being able to do, you know, something that morphs, I love more actual morphing, you know, where we actually, you know, turn all the knobs at once, as opposed to cross-fading between presets. So, you know, if we do something where we can actually morph, that gets me interested. That's why I'm so interested in Leviasynth, because it does these massive, or we'll be able to do these massive actual morphs, like morphing between algorithms. I have no idea how they worked that out, because everything's got to rewire and slide around on the fly, you know. Just interesting stuff. It adds, the whole morphing capability to me adds different textures, and that's, you know, a big thing for me is texture. Let's see, Jeff. Yeah, I'm done too. I got about 3.5 hours of sleep last night. Ended up going to bed very late and then waking up early. So, guys, thanks for coming. I am going to sign off. I might play for a couple of minutes. Jeff, heal up, please. And I will check all you guys later. Thanks for coming, Paul. And I know Luke already left. Steve was here. Will was here. Sean was here. And I know I'm missing somebody from earlier on in the evening. I know I am. Oh, I was here. Look at that. David was here. Danny is here. So anyway, thanks everybody for coming. I will catch you all next week, if not sooner. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and make some noise with something here. So y'all have a good night. Thanks.